Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss how to solve a Navier-Stokes equation for the given problem. Let's suppose we start from here. We have an assumptions which are steady state, incompressible, fully developed and two-dimensional flow. These are our assumptions that we have made and usually are given in the problem, such as the two problems that you have shared with us. Now these are the two, let's say, two equation, Navier-Stokes equation that we are trying to solve for a two-dimensional flow, which is along x and y. We are only discussing right now the Navier-Stokes equation for x, y, z or Cartesian coordinate system. Now, the third equation, which is along z, has been eliminated because it is a 2D flow. Now we will solve this problem step by step to understand how we are going to use it in the given problem. Here you can see these two equations written again, x and along x and y direction. Now we will eliminate the t component because our assumption says that the flow is steady, as I have written in here, steady state. As it is two-dimensional, so the z components will also become 0 in which two-dimensional flow. This is our two assumptions that we have stated earlier, and I have crossed those terms that enter in it. Now after doing so, let's move on to the next. Now we will eliminate the y component as the flow direction is horizontal because our plate is oriented in the horizontal direction, so the component gx will also equal to 0, and the velocity component vx is not changing with respect to y, means the velocity vector vx, which is along horizontal, is not varying along the y direction. Similarly, in the y component we have the same principle. After doing so, let's move on to the next step where we have our flow is fully developed, means the velocity vector vx and its double derivative will be 0, and this component is also 0, so hence we get this equation rho. This is for the x equation, means we have obtained it from here, and for z direction we have obtained this equation. We are simultaneously solving the equation along x and y. After that, the velocity component fluid is fully developed as not changing, so we get this equation and this equation after eliminating the terms, and this equation will be written as it is here. Now we will try to integrate this equation. This equation will be written as it is here, and this equation will be integrated to get a constant c. The pxy term due to hydrostatic and gravity factor is also equal to py. This is not the part of your problem, but we are trying to solve these equations. Now after doing so, I have taken the first derivative of this equation, and then the first integral of this equation and the second integral, and I have obtained this equation which involves the constants c1 and c2. Now this is our main equation. Now what we have to do, we have to substitute the value of c1 and c2 here to get the expression of vx. Similarly, what we have done in the problem discussed in the previous session. In order to find out the value of c1 and c2, what you have to do, you have to determine the boundary conditions, because the integral depends upon the boundary conditions. The first boundary condition, these boundary conditions similar to what we have done in the previous lecture, in which at y is equal to 0 means at near the wall, bottom wall, the velocity vector v is equal to u because the wall is moving with the velocity vector u. Same, this is our first boundary condition. At y is equal to 0, vx is equal to u. The second boundary condition, when the wall is this top wall which is fixed, the velocity at that fixed wall will be 0. After substituting these boundary conditions one by one, we have substituted this first boundary condition here. and solved it, we get the value of C2 here. Now we will substitute the second boundary condition, which is this one here, and we get the value of C1. We have determined both the value of C2 and C1. Now we will substitute in our main equation, which is this one. After substituting it and solving it here, just like we did, and we obtained the value of Vx. This is our final expression that we have obtained. Uh, you have to do these same steps in your problem to solve for the equation. Now the part where you are feeling difficulty was how to determine whether the velocity component Vx equal to 0 or Vx equal to u or Vx equal to v, these two boundary conditions. So in order to explain this, we will move towards the lecture in which the boundary conditions were given. As you can see, the first boundary condition, which is no slip condition, which is at the fixed wall, it says that if your wall velocity in no slip condition, the wall velocity becomes equal to the fluid velocity at that point. For example, if your wall is fixed, the velocity at that point will become equal to 0. If the wall is moving with the velocity vector capital V, the fluid velocity at that point will also be capital V. This is the no slip condition. Similarly, in the interface boundary condition, which was our second problem that we were discussing, in which the fluid 1 and 2 were given and we have to determine their boundary conditions. You can see that the VA vector represents the fluid A velocity and the VB vector represents the fluid B velocity. Both these velocities VA and VB at this junction point where these two fluids meet will be equal according to the interface boundary condition. This is given in the theory. Similarly, the shear stress at point A and point B in fluids A and B are also same. This is our interface boundary condition that we have to use in the problem that we were discussing in the previous section. Now let's go to the symmetry boundary condition. In symmetry boundary condition, it represents a plane such as this one, a line across which the profile of velocity means that this profile and this profile is same. This is called our symmetry plane. Now the gradient at this symmetry plane, the velocity gradient, which is partial derivative of u with respect to y, is equal to 0, and there is no component of velocity vector v in here at this plane. This is our boundary condition, and these equations are given in the theory. We are not using any let's say problem solving technique here. These are all our boundary conditions that you have to understand it. After doing so, let's move on to this problem, because we have two fluids such as given in theory that we were having fluid A and fluid B. Let's suppose I'm taking this we will take another snapshot of it here and this one. You can see that in part A, it is the requirement of the question to identify the boundary conditions. Okay, this is our figure. In figure you can see this wall is our fixed wall. Here we have the position of the coordinate system is important in every problem where you assign it. Here it is given, in some problems it may not be given. As you can see, the velocity vector, which is Vx, is here, and the z direction is vertical. Now we are interested in finding out the velocity changing in the z direction. This is our z direction and this is our x. At z equal to 0, because z points start from the fixed wall, there is no component of h here because the v is starting from the fixed wall. So we say that at z equals to 0, the velocity vector v is also 0. Which is the velocity vector v, or v, let's say this is u velocity vector is 0. When we move towards the maximum position of z, because z is increasing here this direction, first here it will be z equal to h1, we are determining from this base. Okay, now when we move towards the fixed wall, which is this point, here the z will become equals to h1 plus h2. Okay, how now the z equal to h1 plus h2, this is our the value of z. Now what is the value of the velocity? Because our wall is moving with the velocity v, so we say that the velocity of the fluid at that point is also equal to v. This is our second boundary condition. Okay, the similar way we can perform other steps to determine the boundary condition. We have two equations because our problem is two dimensional, so we require two boundary conditions to solve it. Why do we want to solve it? Because we want to determine the value of the constant c1 and c2 here. Okay, that is why we are identifying the boundary conditions. Now we will move on towards the second problem, which is this one of this circular cylinder. Here you were having the difficulty how to solve the Navier-Stokes equation. As I have identified in this lecture how to solve it, you have to perform the same steps here. Here you were given only one Navier-Stokes equation. What you have to do, you have to identify which parameters are equal to 0 as given in this statement. Yes, here the flow is steady state, means the partial derivative of u theta over partial derivative of t will become equal to 0, which is given, which is here. This is given in the expression. This term will be neglected again here. Then the u theta remains. ur and uz. ur means the velocity vector along r direction, and uz means velocity vector along z direction will also be 0. ur is given in the problem that it is equal to 0. uz is because it is an infinite cylinder, and when the flow is developed, the vector uz will also be equal to 0. Then the u theta component, the velocity vector u theta, which is any component along the theta direction with respect to r, will also be 0 because this is the plane, and u theta with respect to z will also be equal to 0. Now we have identified the assumptions and solved it for the required expression. We will simplify this equation 1 and solve it. Now let's discuss the confusion regarding the expression t over dx xy, the product rule that was given. This is a general rule, as you can see from this screen, that here, differential product rule. The product rule says that the derivative of the two functions which are changing x and y were given in the problem, but we were actually trying to solve u and u theta. the first expression times the derivative and the second expression plus. This is all the statement that were given in the problem. Let me show you. Here the expression is given, which is showing that the derivative of u with respect to v and then plus u as it is and the derivative of v with respect to x. This is the differentiation product rule. Only the rule was given in the problem, but we are actually trying to solve it for some other variables. Still, the confusion regarding this problem remains. We can discuss it in the upcoming session. Thank you.